Welcome to the Solo Edit Podcast, a podcast for estheticians looking for a weekly dose of motivation, inspiration, and honest conversations about life in and out of the treatment room. 30 years of faces, from the runways of Milan to a private studio in Philadelphia, where she has worked on people like Michelle Obama, India Ari, just to name a few. Aliesh has built an education platform, written a book, and launched a community initiative offering free facials to people who would otherwise never have access to professional Korean skincare. I am so honored to have her on the show today because she has spent her entire career at the intersection of skincare and skin of color. And she definitely has a clear view of where the aesthetics industry has failed, where it's, slowly catching up, and what estheticians need to understand if they want to serve every client with the same level of competence and care. This is a conversation about education, equity, and what it really means to know skin. Aliesh, I'm so excited to have you here today. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself, how long you have been in the industry, what you specialize in?
Sure. That's funny. That's a loaded question because I started as a makeup artist, as an assistant for the Miss India pageant in Houston, Texas.
Oh, wow.
I was 12 years old. I was assisting. I did some of the Ebony Fashion Fair shows that came through town in the 80s. And so I was definitely introduced to beauty and wellness early.
You have family that's also in the industry?
No, I don't. I don't know how I met this person, honestly. As a child, I would manifest things that I wanted. So that kind of led to me testing with models. And then went away to college, but was miserable. So I got into international program, was able to go to Italy. And then I just stayed once my visa expired. Moved to Milan and started working between Milan and Zurich in fashion in my 20s. And then more in entertainment and music back in New York in my 30s. And then in my 40s, I was introduced to skincare. I had three musicians who had skin issues, and they would book me because I could make their skin look natural. And one of them went to a Beverly Hills esthetician, and in 2 weeks, her skin was cleared up. And I thought, I've got to learn how to do this. So yeah, I went to aesthetic school and just never looked back. And now it's been 20 years in aesthetics. So
I love that. Do you do any education as well?
I do. When I wrote the textbook it was published in '06 for Milady, I was introduced to going on to all the trade shows and speaking, and that kind of introduced me as an educator. So I've been the director of education for two different brands, an Ayurvedic brand and a skin revision brand. And then I have some online training, workbooks and things like that available. Last year, I started a mentorship program. So I thought it's really interested that you became an esthetician through an internship. That's amazing. I wish PA did 100% intern. That would be great.
Yeah.
So I'm supporting new estheticians in that way, just trying to spread this idea of unity in the industry.
So you have had a lot of different experiences within the industry. Where you're at now, where do you think we have room to grow? I know that's a broad question, but what are some things that kind of stick out to you?
Well, I think in the industry, formulation is changing. I think the changes that have been made for melanin-rich skin with an understanding of the adverse reaction, post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. And those changes are helpful for everyone across the board. In aesthetic school, I used to tell the students, they were all afraid to give me a treatment because they didn't want to cause inflammation. And I would say, if you're causing inflammation with me, you're causing inflammation in your other clients too. You're just going to see it on my skin sooner. But it's cumulative, the effects of inflammation. So I really think that a lot of strides have been made to create low inflammatory products or better controlled inflammation to bring about a change. And that is great for melanin-rich skin, but for really everyone, all of our clients equally.
That's such a good point. I mean, we were kind of talking before I hit record about how the industry, when we talk about melanin-rich skin, it's kind of like outside of general education, and it would be nice to see it more integrated and be more inclusive. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, and I think that's what the education needs to catch up with the changes in formulation, really.
Yeah.
And maybe if formulators were more forthcoming about why they're reformulating, that their old formulas were just too invasive for everyone across the
Mhm.
board, then that might prompt more of a conversation. But in our training, I know when I wrote Treating Diverse Pigmentation for Milady, that information is now being finally rewritten and rolled into the main textbook. But it's the slow time coming. It's still this amount of othering that's being done. Here's the training and ethnic considerations, and this is what we do for melanin rich skin. When really, when we think globally, the global majority is melanin rich skin. And if estheticians with 300 hours in America or 600 hours, if we're lucky, maybe 700,
Mm.
if we would start to think globally, I think a lot of this othering would disappear. Estheticians, I would say when we talk about darker skin, are we talking to estheticians in Nigeria? Are we talking to estheticians in the Sudan? When I was director of education for DMK, I got to work with a lot of estheticians from around the globe and a group in Finland and Norway and Sweden where they were talking about how African students came in the 80s and 90s and then stayed and married. And now they're dealing with interracial skin types and they don't have experience. They don't know what to do. So I think this is a global conversation and we need to, like I said, stop othering,
Yeah.
really understand that there's one race, the human race, and there are variations within that. And we should learn those variations equally all at the same time.
Yeah. It really is just a social construct for sure.
Exactly. And if we can open our perspective, then, we'll just be better estheticians and offer better solutions for our clients for sure.
So, what I'm kind of hearing and gathering from that is that it's probably just a lack of like skin health and skin physiology, like a lack of education all around, not necessarily about melanin rich skin. It's just how skin functions under different circumstances. Some things may happen.
Like we were saying earlier, this idea that there's no training in menopausal skin.
Right.
The oncology is a separate training. Why? It's such a part. Everyone's touched by cancer.
Right.
Why wouldn't we offer that training equally? I also found it interesting that there is just now starting to be a conversation about the effects of hormone replacement therapy in gender affirming procedures, understanding what our trans clients are going through as they're making that transition.
Right.
And Middle Eastern Arab skin, we don't talk about a lot. I tried to include a little bit in my textbook, but even looking for studies done in the United States, wasn't a lot of information. I had to go to the equivalent of the CDC in Japan, the CDC in North Africa, in order to get photos, examples of diseases and disorders on all skin types.
That's sad.
So,
But
I mean,
it's,
it was 20 years ago, we're still having the same conversation.
yeah, it's crazy. I think that there are some things to look out for, right? Like when we see post-inflammatory erythema in lighter fits, it might present a little bit different in higher fits.
Higher Fitzpatrick's types can just have their own set of concerns. But, I could say the same about every phenotype that's mentioned in that. One of the biggest regrets I have is in my textbook in exploring diverse skin types, I didn't talk about the redhead gene.
Right.
If we're really going to talk about diversity, let's really be inclusive, not DEI catchphrase, but really inclusive. I always say that melanin is your best friend. The melanocyte just wants to protect. And so sometimes it overreacts in its effort to protect. But understanding that and going low and slow and building, instead of stacking aggressive inflammatory procedures is really how you bring about a change in your client's skin. Yeah.
I
and the
think we're seeing more of that. Obviously, my company is based on Korean skincare, which is, as a whole, more of a holistic approach with lifestyle, gut health, everything considered. But also, their approach to skincare is very much more gentle, barrier focused, layered. And I mean, undoubtedly in the US, especially when I was younger, it was like strip the skin, strip the skin. If you
right.
have acne,
Oil
strip the pad.
free, everything. Yes.
Yeah. And so we're starting, I feel, to see a change in less corrective and more preventative care. Would
Mm.
you agree?
I do. And I think I'm grateful to the Korean skincare craze for that, for introducing this barrier repair, barrier first approach, hydration, hydration, hydration in all circumstances.
Yeah.
And I'm still waiting for our brands to catch up. There's some reformulation going on.
Yeah.
Definitely removing some of those old fragrances, and I'm not even talk about preservatives. We won't talk about that. That's a loaded conversation. But I also think we're limited because our FDA hasn't approved a lot of those ingredients that are so revolutionary for Korean skincare.
Which is so maddening because the other things they allow in our food,
Yeah.
it just makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. It's crazy.
Someone just has to pay a lot of money.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, that's it.
Yeah. For estheticians who are just wanting to deepen their knowledge and understanding of skin as a whole, what are some suggestions you have in terms of continuing education? You're actually moving into a science field, and it's a lot more than just facial massage and cleansing the skin.
Yeah.
Can you speak to the importance of really understanding that continuing education and where estheticians can go to continue to learn?
Well, the first stop would be askaleash.com on my site. I do have some really easy entry workbooks to help start to think from a global perspective. And then some courses coming up. I have a skin analysis course on June 15th, and we'll talk about extractions as well as understanding texture, color, and secretions. July 20th, there's mastering chemical peels. So we'll talk about combining peels, but also understanding their mechanism of action. Not all acids perform the same thing equally. And then in August, looking at diseases and disorders from a global perspective as well. But I draw from so many other great educators. Florence Barrett Hill is a big influence for me and her advanced skin analysis technique called the pastiche method. I love her training. Joelle Lee talks about her approach is the multicultural approach, and Pamela Springer, her global awareness, but also, looking at what Sedesco is offering. Their training still is separate. There's an ethnic section and a skin sensitivity section,
Mhm.
but corneal therapy approach and the Sedesco training are also really helpful. I just think whatever you can do to expand your perspective, I'm even looking at some advanced massage classes just to get back to anatomy and physiology because I think I've been on intuition for the last few years, just,
Yeah.
you know, going on my own fumes, but to be able to be in community and pick up tips from other experts is just priceless.
I mean, it doesn't matter how long you've been in the industry, right? We're always learning for inspiration to keep our hand in the treatment room. And also, as I said before, a science-based industry, things are always changing. Our understanding of ingredients, formulations, how the skin works, it's ever evolving. And so it's really important that we are always students.
Yeah.
I just took a really great class when I was in Austin, a fascia. Is that how I say it? Fascia.
Fashion. Yeah.
A fascia facial massage course, and I loved it, and I learned a lot. I was like, wow, I had absolutely no idea how beneficial this could be.
Mhm.
And so I actually, that night, I purchased a new treatment table, which is what's coming today. So I can practice because it was just really interesting and inspiring. So we briefly touched on it before, but one of the biggest questions we're asked when estheticians purchase our products is like, how long will results last? And for me, I always say that's an impossible question to answer because what we do, I actually have a blog coming out in June that's called A Facial is Just a Facial. And it's so important to understand all of the things that impact our client on a daily basis, whether that be hormones, stress, what's happening in their job, the weather, humidity, the climate, all of those things, the gut health. But obviously, we're not nutritionists, we're not therapists, we're not licensed to address all of these other things. And we always say refer out. What ways do you think we can address all of these other factors without overstepping, but also really honor that these things really do impact the skin? The skin is not separate from the body.
Now that I've been had my practice in Philly for almost 5 years. No, are we coming up on 6? Almost 6 years. I have a lot of repeat clients. A lot of them have autoimmune disorders or some chronic condition. And I've had to learn how to navigate around that because they may not have mastered those lifestyle changes. I think at first I did overstep. I offered a lot of advice and tried a lot of procedures that they may not have been ready for initially.
Right.
Chemical peels on diabetic, not a good idea. No matter how much you want to help, as long as their healing is delayed, that's not something we can do. But I do say things like I keep first of all, a list of referrals, naturopaths, derms that I like, Ayurvedic practitioners, acupuncturists that can refer out. So if I'm thinking, I'm doing extractions and I'm hearing what sounds like GERD, some kind of reflux coming up, maybe this acne is tied to your gut health. And I know your dermatologist isn't picking up on it, but what if you spoke to this naturopath? What if we did, it's so funny. But when I said about intuition, I get almost this intuitive Tourette's that comes up. And I remember with one client, I kept hearing H. pylori. It's just coming in every 2 weeks. And I'm like, I don't know anything about H. pylori. What is this in my head? And then I used to be the director of the Integrative Esthetician Certificate Program. And I went to the dermatology symposium there. The whole conversation was about gut health and how H. pylori, the gut skin axis and how it shows up. So I'm learning to trust that, but also I start with, I can't diagnose, but I heard but I've tried or a friend or a client said, so I'll start there, but then really try to refer out as much as I can. With my PCOS clients, I started an online group. We're not very active, but they can share information there because, offering laser hair removal, I attract a lot of clients with chronic hirsutism. And so just supporting them in any way that I can without going outside of my scope of practice.
Yeah. I think part of the issue, from being an esthetician and an American, we're not taught to eat healthy. At least I wasn't, right? It's still not talked about a lot. And all of the factors that go into skin health and just overall well-being and the impact of, stress in your 20s can show up in your 30s. You might not see anything in your 20s. In your 30s, you'll start to have, I don't know, mast cell activation or like all of these other issues kind of arise. I do think that as that conversation starts to become more prevalent, we'll start to see a change in consumers being more informed and looking for estheticians that are considering all of these things when they are in the treatment room.
Yeah. And hopefully that just continues this leveling up, this spiraling into a greater awareness in the industry.
Yeah.
Because we'll meet those demands. I would like to see us, though, leading the way. I really would love to see a national standard of 2 years of training for us so that we're coming in at the level of a physician's assistant, let's say,
Yeah.
instead of a beautician, just beautifying services.
I completely agree with you. I mean, if you want to be a good esthetician, you have to continue to learn and have at least a little bit of understanding that all of these things are linked together. I mean, again, doctors don't know everything, they're always learning, but I agree. There should be some sort of standard across the board
Yeah.
and a lot more education and required continuing education as well.
Yeah.
I think that people would take us a lot more seriously if we had that in place. I mean, you can only learn so much in 700 hours, right?
Right. Right. And this idea that I see young estheticians stacking, all combining first improper order of operations and then stacking these procedures like 5 different exfoliation steps.
Why do you think they do that? I'm curious to hear your point of view.
I think because it looks good on Instagram. It's just,
Yeah,
I don't understand why you would use a chemical exfoliation before you dermaplane. Just because it looks cool on camera, maybe? It doesn't make sense. It's not benefiting the skin in any way. Or maybe it's the next thought, they do the enzyme and they're not getting the results they want. So they're going to go a little further and go, instead of understanding, again, the mechanism of action before you start to implement the procedure.
yeah,
It goes back to training, our education. We're taught all these random steps and sometimes a complete protocol, but never how to customize that protocol with
right.
all these different steps. Yeah.
I agree with you. I think they see things on social media that looks cool, or they think they're bringing added value to the client, and the client doesn't know any better.
Right.
I agree with you 100%.
I recently had this client who I've been working with for years. She really likes the TikTok trends. And so I felt like we were making, 2 steps forward and then 1 step back because she'd switch things up, plus has some rosacea and is African American with hyperpigmentation. And she texted me with a very specific request, she wanted 1 layer of a 20% salicylic acid left on for 3 to 5 minutes. And I started, well, first of all, it's not the percentage, it's the pH. Secondly, salicylic is self-neutralizing. So whether I put it on for 1 minute or 3 or 5, it's going to do what it does. And actually, if I try to take it off prematurely, it might just drive it deeper. So I don't know where you got this idea. And I have a 35% salicylic acid. So I told her, I'm going to refund your deposit
Yeah.
and I hope you find what you're looking for.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you a set protocol.
Yeah.
I also hadn't been in for 6 months, so I didn't even know what her skin
Yeah.
looked like. So, yeah.
I was literally emailing someone this morning who they sent us an email about state board. You can't do anything over 30%. And, does this peel? And I said, unfortunately, they're so misinformed. It's really the pH is what they should be looking at, but they don't know that. And so
Right.
it's laughable, honestly.
I think brands avoid talking about the pH because then when they export, there's a certain pH that can be exported, but the percentage could be buffered, 35% buffered glycolic. I mean, maybe it wouldn't be over the counter, but it could be that.
I always say it's like water.
Right,
Right.
right, right, exactly. It's
Yeah.
rendered to salts as soon as it touches your skin, so
Mm-hmm.
it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, we want clients to be informed, but we also need to be the leaders. We have to be able to explain why their approach isn't going to work or why it might work and
Right.
what your procedure is in implementing it,
And that's what sets us apart from, these TikTok influencers. And I've been talking with our community a lot. Olive Young, which is one of the largest beauty drug stores, is coming to the US.
Mm,
And they are going to have, skin analysis devices, and they are going to have estheticians or people who are recommending. And I'm like, this is coming, and this is undoubtedly going to affect our industry. And a lot of people in our industry are going to struggle. And so now is really the time to create that community within your clients, your customers, and really hone in on your relationship with them and be the expert
Yeah.
and the safe place that they can go to get real answers.
That,
Yeah, because we are the professionals.
and that takes us back to that customization idea of really understanding skin on a global scale. You want to be prepared to treat anyone or everyone equally when they come into your treatment and give them that experience, because that's what AI can't offer, that experience. That's what the esthetician in a store can't offer, this nervous system reset
Mhm.
with real advice, real tailored advice specifically for you.
Yeah.
So we really have to hone in on that, because they can go anywhere. They're the little robots that offer facial massage are coming. And from what I hear, it feels great. Little silicone tips touching
Mhm.
all the trigger points. So we really have to be about relationship building and customizing for our clients' individual skin condition.
Yeah.
That I always try to tell my interns when they come in that our goal is to offer services that are customized for your client's ethnicity, age, gender identity, and religious preferences. And if we can take all of that into consideration and really treat the whole person, the whole being,
Mhm.
that's how you build repeat client base.
100%. And then they go out and they tell their friends or family members how amazing you are. And once you have that momentum, you really don't have to market anymore as much. I mean, they really do all the heavy lifting.
It's true. I've really been trying, now that I'm in a different community and different neighborhood, to open up more to the neighborhood, because I was finding that I was attracting the same type of client. So they all went on vacation at the same time. They the same spending habits. So my lows were based on there.
Yeah,
So now I'm really branching out and trying to connect with different groups of people who might have different vacation
right.
schedules.
Yeah. June and July is notoriously slow for our industry. And so for us, what we're doing is we're going to really focus on education. So we're like, if you don't have clients, now is the perfect time to take some classes, invest in yourself a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I picked, those 3 dates, primarily because the downtime, the lull, but I wanted to make sure that all of the things that have come up in the mentorship program, I wanted to offer solutions, make those available to young estheticians. And we get some nurses too, some who are new to aesthetics. So
Yeah.
really leaning in.
Can you touch on your mentorship program a little bit? Tell me about it.
Sure. So I'll tell you, it's constantly evolving, first of
Yeah.
all. When I started, I had this idea of what I wanted to do. The first attempt, I paid the mentee, and then it ended abruptly with no return, no work follow through. And I thought, okay, that's not going to work. So I entered into a 3-month agreement with 3 other estheticians and found different degrees of capability. But through one success story, which she's now the lead at another spa, I realized that I have to charge for this service. So I just signed another mentee who is paying a flat fee up front, but the rest of the curriculum is the same. So it's 3 months work study. You get 3 weeks of training, really trying to fill those gaps and answer any of those questions. And then we throw you out there.
Yeah.
First with friends and family and some, models who signed on, and then start to work on a commission-based structure just in preparation for the real world. I say the real world, but it's not a fast-paced spot. It's like you're working one-on-one with ample time in between clients and all of that. So there is a low pressure training aspect to it, but it gives the mentee a chance to work with a lot of different skin types, different ethnicities. And in the treatment room, I'm teaching them how to use, not just dermaplaning, but also microneedling, using more of the advanced chemical peels, hydrofacials, They even get to sit in on some of the laser hair removal sessions. So
I love that. So a little bit of everything.
a little bit of everything. I mean,
Yeah.
I wish that our state would allow a complete mentorship for licensure.
Mm,
That would be ideal. But
yeah.
it actually helps that they're coming in with some training because we can just hit the ground running.
Yeah. Well, before I let you go, is there anything that we didn't touch on that you want to talk a little bit more about?
I think I'm a little bit petty and I have a hard time letting things go because the one thing that sticks with me is a conversation about skin analysis. I've had so much pushback with the Fitzpatrick scale. Well, that's our standard. That's that's a term that we use. That's how we talk about skin. And it is, but Dr. Fitzpatrick didn't even like the way that we use it. Initially, his scale was intended to measure the effects of UV rays, specifically in psoriasis conditions in clients of male European descent. So it wasn't meant to include initially deep skin tones. And it's just become a standard and I think kind of a lazy way to talk about skin. It's shorthand and it serves its purpose because if you say 6, I know what you're talking about. But at the same time, when I'm actually treating skin, I don't really, how they burn is one of my last concerns, their UV exposure. It's their barrier, so it would help to know that, say, East Asian clients have typically thinner stratum corneum and, greater transepidermal water loss, having those things in the back of your mind. But we're not necessarily taught that, or
Mhm.
that we interpret as a thick dermis in clients of African descent could actually be bi or multinucleated fibroblast cells. So it's not so much the epidermis that we're seeing is thicker, but actually the basement membrane, the foundation. We're just not taught this. So having these tools, having other forms of skin analysis like the Bauman scale or the Lancer ethnicity scale or Dr. Fanous genetico-racial skin analysis, all of these things come into play and can be really helpful in customizing services for our clients.
I think that goes back to what we were saying earlier. We're always improving and learning. And when you said that you were getting, some pushback on that, it's like we're always improving and changing, and our understanding of things are, they're changing, and that's okay, right?
Right.
I've learned so much in just talking with you for the last 40 minutes, and it's really inspired me to dive deeper in ways I didn't even know that I needed, to be honest with you. So I really appreciate you taking the time, and I will definitely be jumping on your website to look. Tell me what courses you have coming up.
So they're all in person, and I am organizing some free webinars just really to share information, some of the educators that inspire me. So those are be coming up this year. But June 15th is Advanced Skin Analysis with Extractions, and July 20th, Mastering Chemical Peels, August 31st, Diseases and Disorders.
Okay. You definitely should be creating some online classes. You are a wealth of information, and I'm sure you'd have a lot of estheticians that would be interested in taking them.
Thank you. I just need to organize my thoughts. They're still all over the place.
That is me in a nutshell. Well, thank you so much for taking time today.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah.
It's been a really easy conversation, and I love chatting with a sister colleague.
Yeah. And for anyone who is interested in exploring more, her website is Ask Aliesh, AskAliesh.com.
Yes. That's
Okay, perfect.